Hey everyone, and welcome to the Balanced Bodies Blueprint. I am your host, Vinny Russo.
And I am your co-host, Dr. Eryn Stansfield.
And we're shifting gears from all the conventional fitness narrative you hear on most fitness podcasts, as our main emphasis lies in preventative healthcare, adopting a holistic approach to nutrition, and challenging the traditional views on various fitness topics.
Our mission with this podcast is to provide you with the information you need to achieve optimal health.
And on today's podcast, I want to dive into a bit of a conversation I had with a mentee. Yes, part of my coaching business is I take on other coaches, whether they're aspiring coaches or personal trainers or actual nutrition coaches, and I help them develop their business, everything from an onboarding process to being able to provide more value to their current clients and future clients, becoming more efficient, like cutting down those check-in times that might take forever for some of you coaches, helping them create a little bit more of a personalized protocol for each specific individual client, helping them figure out those clients that aren't really moving or are stuck, or just those that they just don't know what to do and they need some help and some guidance. So if you are ever interested in that type of an experience, you can always shoot me an email at vinny@balancedbodies.io or just hit me up on Instagram. That's normally where I am anyway. And we could chat there and set up a call and speak about it further. But this convo that I had was mainly about macros and calories and how they always take the limelight, which honestly, if your goal is aesthetics, that's really all you need. But when it comes to like overall health, when it comes to optimizing the body's responsiveness, when it comes to creating an internal environment that allows the client to actually thrive, micros, meaning your micronutrients, they need to become a priority. And I feel like they get widely overlooked. It's more of like my friend sent me a video and saying how like fitness coaching is going away and how like longevity is going to be the key. And honestly, ever since I took my business from bringing bodybuilders to stage to helping the general population with their overall health and obviously getting them into a more comfortable physique, my client retention rate, it's over 2 years. Like people stay. And they stay because they trust, they stay because they feel great. And it's really because we focused on the internal environment, their health. The aesthetic part comes with that. Once you're fixing your insides and your internal environment and you're really, really supplying a very nutrient-dense diet and you're providing the body with everything it needs, everything else follows. So when we were having this conversation, it's like, everyone talks about these calories, these macros, high protein diets, but nobody talks about the stuff that actually keeps your body functioning at a very high level, which would be things like your vitamins and your minerals, the stuff that's actually under the hood, those nutrients that determine whether your fat loss phase feels smooth and effective or if it feels like it's complete shit and that you're miserable the entire time. And you'll notice like one of the things from the testimonials that I get from my clients, they usually say, pretty much all of them say, that it was an enjoyable experience because not only are they learning the entire time, but they don't feel like they're dieting, like their body doesn't feel like absolute shit. Now, look, if you want to go to an extreme, then yes, you're gonna have to own that. I do it when I go into photo shoots. When I used to compete, I would bring my body to a level where it's extreme and it's miserable. But I also accepted that, right? Like I knew that was going to be on the table, and in order to get my body to where it needed to be, I had to make a ton of sacrifices and had to put my body through the ringer. But when we talk about losing fat and we talk about trying to keep it off, we all know that this stuff isn't easy. We know that it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of patience. And most of all, it takes a good strategy for you, because if it's conflicting with your schedule, if it's not working with your food preferences, it's going to be a bad time. You're not going to adhere, and you're going to feel like you're a failure. You're going to quit. You're going to go on like a little binge streak, and then you're going to try to do it again. And if you don't have the right strategy, it's just going to keep happening. But what makes dieting even harder is how most people go about it. They treat this like it's some fucking math problem, right? If I hit my calories and I hit my macro percentages, it's all I need. But it's really like, well, Okay, but what about your food quality, right? Yes, you could get shredded hitting your calories and hitting your macros. But if you're constantly leaning on like these ultra processed foods because they fit into your macro Tetris game, then you're going to make fat loss very difficult for no reason whatsoever, right? And to be honest with you, like you're going to lose a lot of food volume when you try to make like Pop Tart ice cream sandwiches because they fucking fit into your macros. There needs to be like an intelligence about the way you go into dieting, right? Because when you look at those type of foods, they're designed to be easy to overeat, right? They digest very quickly, they don't fill you up, and they bring very, very little nutrition to the table. So, although you might be able to be in a deficit while eating those foods, you're going to be hungry. You're going to be low on energy. You're going to be craving more and more foods. You're going to be wondering why it's so hard for you to stick to a plan. Now, if you know me as a coach and what I preach, and if you read my content, if you listen to my content, you know that I would never say you can't have those foods. Of course you can. But if most of what you are eating is that processed, calorie dense, nutrient poor type food, then you're snacking. You're, no pun intended, you're stacking the odds against yourself, right? The majority of your calories should come from foods that show love to your body with the goal to eat intelligently, not perfectly. That's why I said some intelligence has to come into this. It's not about being perfect. Perfect is unsustainable. We know this. Perfect can definitely help you catch up. Perfect can make things a little bit more efficient, but you can't sustain perfection, right? But you can sustain intelligence. So basically, you want to choose foods that make it easier for you to stay in a deficit, not make it harder. Foods that will keep you full, foods that will support your energy, foods that will give your body what it needs to not only recover, but also to perform. Because when you are able to perform at a very high level, let's just talk about the gym, you're going to create enough stimulus to actually add some muscle tissue and watch your body transform. Okay? So when we talk about calories, macros, and micros, you have to understand that micronutrients, they're going to matter a little bit more than what you currently think. Okay, so the vitamins and minerals that your body needs in tiny amounts are what we call those micronutrients. But we might need them in tiny amounts, but the body relies on them for literally everything from hormone production, from your energy metabolism, for your mood, your immunity, your gut health, the way you recover, all of it, right? Your body relies on these. And when you look at like what people are constantly deficient in, you see like a few ones that always like seem to pop up. One that probably everybody knows is vitamin D, right? A lot of people, they're not going outside, getting enough sun. Being in, the northern hemisphere, sometimes that happens. It's easy to happen to us. So, paying attention to that. Magnesium is a huge one that I feel like everyone, if you're not paying attention to it, you're probably deficient in it. Potassium, that's another one. Everyone focuses on sodium, and sodium is great for you. You should have it. I salt my meals every meal. I even take some salt in the morning to help with cellular hydration with my liter of water that I chug. I wouldn't recommend chugging a liter bottle of water if you're not used to that. But I've been doing it for, I don't know, maybe 4 years now every morning. But anyway, so potassium is one, right? And that works hand in hand with sodium. And zinc is actually another one, right? And you could probably dive into a few more, but those are like the most glaring ones that I've noticed, right? And if you're training hard while you're dieting, which is usually what people do, that risk will multiply because you're losing nutrients faster while eating less food overall. So you have less of a chance of bringing in those nutrients. So not only are you eating fewer calories, but you're also getting less of what keeps your body running optimally. Okay? So there needs to be an awareness there. There needs to be an intention to be able to make sure that we are fueling our body with what it needs. Now, look, when it comes to calories and protein, right? When they're matched, you could get the same results in terms of body composition, right? So if you take research and you look at calories and protein are matched and you try different types of diets and different types of foods, if we look at body composition, you will get very similar results as long as those two are equated. But research will also show you that people eating more nutrient-dense diets, those higher in vitamins, minerals, fibers, phytonutrient, antioxidants, they're going to have better appetite control. They're going to have more energy, and they are going to be able to stick to their diets longer. While people that are, getting those calories and protein from more ultra-processed foods, they're going to experience greater hunger. They're going to experience more crashes. They're going to have more bloating. It's going to make it harder for them to actually stick to the plan. So essentially, micronutrients help aid your ability to actually stay consistent with the diet plan. Now, when I'm taking on clients, before I actually take them on, I like to review their food log, right? And normally what I see, I would say, let's call it 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 times, people are going to be undernourished. Now, that's either with their calories or with their nutrients, but they're always going to be undernourished. That's normally what I see 8 out of 10 times. And when you start to focus on the nourishment of clients and you get their internal health dialed in, those results that they see in their physique, they will follow, right? And it's funny because one of the biggest complaints I get when clients first start dieting with me is, how am I supposed to lose weight or lose body fat eating all this food? And it's like, relax, let's give it some time. Let's just watch what happens, right? And that's normally what happens is they're like, wow, I'm eating so much food and my body's changing. My waist is dropping, my scale's going down. Maybe slower than what I want, but it's going down and my waist is going down and I'm eating more food than ever. And it's like, yeah, because you're finally fueling it with the nutrients that it needs and requires. So if you want to get lean without feeling miserable, then there's a few things that you want to do. And one of the main thing is going to be to build your diet around these whole, minimally processed foods. All right, think protein-rich meals, think fruit, think vegetables, whole grains, healthy fats. Think the basics, because the basics will always work. Why? Because they're nutrient-dense, they're filling, and they're very hard to actually overeat. Next thing is, like, when you drop calories, you need to intentionally make an effort to try to keep your nutrients on the higher side, because you're going to be eating less overall food, right? So now there needs to be more of an intentional decision making with your food selection that will not only make the deficit feel not as bad, because it's going to help with satiety and overall energy, but it's going to make the experience a little bit more enjoyable, because you're going to feel like you're eating a ton of food, right? Because a lot of vegetables, we'll just use them as an example, are low calorie but very high volume, meaning you eat a lot of volume, you eat a lot of it in terms of a mass, but you don't get as much calories as you would from something else. And then the last thing that you really want to do is, for getting lean without feeling miserable, is make sure you're eating variety, right? Rotate foods around, try different meals, have fun with recipes. Think, incorporate as many colors as I possibly can into my day. And that will make sure that you are checking your boxes with your vitamins and minerals. Because everyone in this fitness realm is chasing aesthetics, right? The abs, the definition, the drop of the scale. But when it comes to long-term success, that comes from taking care of what's happening inside of your body. And I always say this: if you want the scale to move, focus on your calories. If you want your body to transform and change that body composition, focus on your calories and macros. If you want to feel your best, you need to prioritize your macros while also hitting your calories and macros. So to wrap this all up, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling tired, if you feel like you're doing everything right, but you're not really seeing the results you deserve, it's not that you need more blood tests. It's not that you need to detox your body with some fucking juice cleanse that doesn't work. It's not that you have to reach out to a functional practitioner because they're going to find your root cause. It's time to just take a deeper look than what your calorie tracker is saying, right? You need to dial in your food quality, focus on that nutrient density, and give your body the tools it needs to actually respond to your efforts. Because the goal isn't just to lose weight. It's to build a body that works as good as it looks. And that's it. That's all I got for you today. We tried to do an episode, myself and Dr. Eryn, yesterday, but it's very, very hard when your baby is very vocal and she's running around in her walker, and she's screaming on the top of her lungs and wanting to play, and then does an intermittent cry and then laughs, and then like it's like dealing with something from Stranger Things in here sometimes. So we couldn't get that to you, but we will. We'll try to do it sometime this week, maybe even this weekend. We'll try to get that episode out there and to you. But I came at you today solo because of that. So like I said, from here on out, if we can't come together and do it, I will do a quick solo episode talking about mainly nutrition, and then giving you stuff that you could implement and apply right away today, and hopefully add some value to your life. So with that being said, I will see you all next week. So on behalf of Balanced Bodies, we just want to say thank you for joining us on this episode of the Balanced Bodies Blueprint.
We are committed to bringing valuable content. And if you enjoyed today's episode, we'd greatly appreciate it if you can take a moment and like it and leave a 5-star review.
On Apple, just go to the show, scroll down to the bottom and rate it there. If you're on Spotify, go to the show's page, click the 3 dots, and you can rate it there as well.
And if you believe in the power of knowledge, share this episode on your social media to try and get the information out there to as many people as possible.
And as you navigate your own path towards better health, remember that Balanced Bodies is forever in your corner. See you all next week.
The podcast content may include discussions of medical topics and health-related information. However, the information provided should not be considered exhaustive or complete, and it should not be relied upon as a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare providers with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment.